In this video, we are going to discuss how much property you can actually afford. I'm going to be breaking this down for the rentals and for purchasing real estate. We'll be going through some examples of salary ranges, just so you can have a good frame of reference. For renting a place, there is a rule of personal finance that says the total cost of rent should not exceed more than 30% of your gross income. So say somebody earns $60,000 a year from work, which is about the average salary range right now in Toronto. That's $5,000 gross income each month. If you take the 30% rule and apply it to the $5,000, that'll give you $1,500 to spend on rent. If you live in Toronto like I do, that might not seem realistic, especially when the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Toronto right now is $2,674. If you work that backwards, you're gonna have to earn about $107,000 a year in order to put the 30% towards the average one-bedroom condo in Toronto. In reality, you can think of the 30% rule as more of a guideline than an actual rule. I've seen landlords accept tenants who are putting about 40% of their income towards rent. Ideally, you are following the 30% rule, just means that you have extra funds available for living expenses and savings. This can allow you to save up for a down payment and eventually purchase a home, which is what we're going to get into now. When it comes to purchasing a property, there are three main categories to pay attention to. It's the down payment, the mortgage, and the closing costs. First, the down payment. The down payment is just the amount of cash you put towards the purchase price of the home. The remaining amount will be paid through by the mortgage, which we're going to talk about later. For the down payment, there are minimum requirements that you'll need to have depending on the purchase price. For any property that's $500,000 or less, you can pay as little as 5% down. For properties between $500,000 and $1 million, you pay 5% of the first $500,000 and then 10% of the portion of the price above $500,000. For any property that is $1 million or more, you're going to have 20% of the total purchase price. After the down payment, the rest of the purchase price is made up from the mortgage. So first, lenders are going to look at the total monthly cost of the property and then compare that to your monthly income. They'll add up the mortgage payment, property tax, heating costs, and 50% of the maintenance fee if you're buying a condo. Then divide that by your income to get a percentage of your monthly income that is going to be paying for the housing costs. This is called the gross debt service ratio. CMHC, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, has a limit of 39% for the GDS ratio. This is why when interest rates are changing and affecting how much mortgage payments cost, it ultimately affects the maximum purchase price that you would be qualified for. There is another rule that lenders look at when qualifying for a mortgage, and that is the total debt service ratio. It's the same as GDS, but it takes into account other debt obligations like car payments and student loans. The percentage of the total debt from CMHC is 44%. Now, these numbers can be different based on your lender, your income, your credit, or even just when you're watching this. So I really recommend that you should sit down and discuss with a mortgage broker to get more accurate numbers and advice that's specific to you. The last piece of the puzzle is closing costs. It's important to factor in how much closing costs you're going to have to pay when you're purchasing a home. After you've saved up for the down payment, you've been approved for the mortgage, there are still some additional costs you have to pay before you can close on the property. The most significant fee is going to come from land transfer tax. Secondarily is going to be lawyer fees. I'd budget about $2,000 for a lawyer. For the land transfer tax, the easiest way is just to use an online calculator that you can work out exactly how much the land transfer tax is going to cost you. And you can check off if you're a first-time home buyer and if you qualify for the first-time home buyer rebate. Here's a chart to show exactly how this is calculated based on the purchase price of the home. If you're buying a property inside Toronto, there's actually an additional municipal land transfer tax that you'll have to pay. So you have to check where the property actually lies and what the tax rate is. based on all your income and savings, this should help you get a clearer picture on how much property you can actually afford. And keep in mind, this is to give you the maximum price that you'd be qualified for, not that you should actually be spending the top of the budget. You should find a number that's comfortable for you and that aligns with your personal and financial goals. If you have any questions or you'd like to schedule a consultation, links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.